Well, I'm waiting. I've been waiting for this day. You know, Corey, you've been with us for a long time now, it seems. I don't know the number of years. Lindsay probably just mentioned it, but I've always said, man, these guys don't get it. You know, they don't get it, what it's like having kids and having to build this business and run this show the way that we have. So the selfish, self-centered, egotistical David Curry has been waiting for these children to start to slow some of you youngsters down. But man, I would say I've got to give you credit where credit's due for sure. I love the quote, and like we said, kind of coming up to this call, you are, you know, prime example of what that quote means. You know, you've been somebody that has been a power player in our business since the day you came into Orca. When was that? Was it 18?
19, February of 2019 is when I came.
5 years with Orca.
Yep.
Beautiful. I'm almost 6, I guess. And you've been in final expense for how long?
Got licensed in 2014, so about 10 years total.
Okay, that's the same lifespan we have in the business. So, again, like I said, from the day you walked in our door, you've been a key player, a number one agent, number one producer consistently, teaching and helping others learn this business. I'm excited to kind of dive into our business a lot. You know, we do a lot of leadership on this podcast. It's near and dear to our heart. We're very passionate about leadership. You have certainly been down that road and are doing a wonderful job leading your team and move that into an AmeriLife partnership, which is, you know, an amazing feat in its own. But I'm excited to just dive into what we do, because we haven't done a whole lot of that throughout the series of this podcast. So excited to talk about Orca, final expense, your journey in the business. And for those that don't know, final expense is kind of an odd thing. Maybe even if you're in the insurance business, you might even think final expense is more odd if you understand insurance. But it's a different business. You know, like we said, we show up at folks' houses. They don't know we're coming. We sit down. Some of those houses might not be the biggest on the block or the nicest or the well-kept, but we love our families and love what we do. What brought you into this crazy business?
You're right. So a lot of people do not understand. People that, you know, there's 20 different avenues you can go into in insurance, that final expense is the last thing you think of when you tell somebody you're an insurance agent. So yes, that you're spot on with that. But when you ask what brought me into the business, so I had a sales job before this, at a home remodeling company, would sell windows and sunrooms and bathrooms and all the things in a home that cost a lot of money. And had a boss, and the owner of the company, he was responsible for cutting the checks. He paid out the commissions, and then once every 2 weeks, you would get your check. And so we went on for a couple of years doing that, and it got harder and harder to get those checks. They kept getting delayed. He kept finding ways to cut those commissions. And a friend of mine mentioned this business and said, hey, he used to do that job as well. He said, hey, you don't have to worry. You come do this. There's no person that's ever going to decide how much you make or your worth or when you get paid. It's all going to be up to you. And at this point, I was so fed up with someone else determining my wealth and determining how much I was going to make. I didn't need to know anything else other than that, because I was confident in being able to sell anything at that point. If you could sell an overpriced sunroom, you could probably sell a life insurance policy that somebody needs.
Right.
So I came in confident, and I loved the idea that if I sold something on Tuesday, I was probably getting paid on it by Thursday, and there was no boss or CEO that was going to determine or try and nickel and dime me for my worth. I wanted to be in charge of that. And so ultimately, that is what brought me into the business.
Wow. So, you know, when you think about that, when a boss is like, hey, Corey, we'll get you that bonus next week. And then they keep pushing it off and pushing it off.
That's
and
crazy.
then you're like, I'm fed up. I'm still putting these nice bathrooms in, these nice windows, and I'm not getting compensated. And that speaks to, you know, your ROI, right? Your return on your investment, and that I'm worthy of more because I'm putting in all this time and effort.
Yeah. Funny story, how it ended there was I sold this very expensive sunroom. It was almost $40,000. They paid cash. They wrote a check for third down. So I had a check for about $16,000 to turn in, and I ended up holding it hostage until I got caught up on my commission, got that check, cashed it, and then started studying the next morning. So
talk about negotiating ability at its finest.
Yeah. Met the owner at the store at like midnight on my way home from E-Town and told him what was going on. Got caught up and then started studying for insurance, and the rest is history.